Hello everyone, and welcome to another review. This time I'd like to talk about yet another Fostex T50RP mod known as the Talos by Cascadia Audio. The maker of this mod is a guy who goes by the moniker Mad Economist on the R Headphones subreddit, and this is his first offering for sale. These retail for $250 and they were released in 2016. So unlike other Fostex T50RP mods that I've covered in the past, there are little to no changes made from the design of the stock headphone, and it makes sense given its entry-level price point for a planar magnetic headphone. What you'll get essentially is something that looks like the original Fostex headphone with stickers on it. They even come in the original box for the Fostex T50RP, along with the original cable, which is a single-ended orange affair that plugs into the left cup and is held in place by twisting it to the right. It is terminated into a 3.5mm jack, so a converter was necessary to use it with my amplifier. The T50RP is a solidly built headphone, even in its stock form, with the plastic design not feeling overly flimsy and quite rugged. The metal sliders are intact and as I remember them, with no incremental adjustments but staying in place well. It is very lightweight compared to what I'm used to using at this point, and it does not feel fatiguing to wear for long sessions. The choice of using the HM5 hybrid pads, however, is commendable, as they're not overly thick, but they're very plush and make an effortless seal on my ears while being very comfortable. My extended listening sessions did not reveal any ear fatigue, but I could see them getting hot in summer months and humid climates. As with all Fostex T50RPs, the impedance is 50 ohms. Make no mistake, however, these require a good amount of power to come into their own, more so than my Focal Lear and Sennheiser HD800. Moving on to sound, I had heard that the Talos was a V-shaped headphone, and I fully admit that I'm not a big fan of that sound signature. However, to my surprise, while this statement is true, it goes beyond just being labeled as a V-shaped headphone. The overall presentation has somewhat of a clean characteristic to it while being elevated at the edges, so bass and treble taking center stage. Jumping through my music library, I immediately preferred the Talos with warmer rock music productions than I did the ZMF Vibro Mark I back in the day, because the Talos has this ability to not feel too stuffy or congested when listening to that kind of music, especially when you're thinking stuff like Led Zeppelin, which because of the rolled off treble in the Vibro can get very sluggish. So the bass of the Talos is north of neutral, but not overly far-reaching in the sub-bass region. However, it is punchy and not sluggish like the Fostex X Mouse Drop THX100 or even the earthier sounding Meze 99 Classic. Both these headphones are more bloomier based. They extend lower, but they're not as punchy, not as fast. But the bass on the Talos is not deeply textured really, but it does occupy a space in the music that lends a full sound to it, injecting a lot of body into each and every recording. I find this a tricky endeavor to do because of mid-range bleed basically, which did happen on the Vibro Mark I. But the mids of the Talos bypass this issue, giving the lower mid-range and bass space to come into their own quite well, so every bassline is heightened in presence in a very pleasing manner, but don't expect the intense accuracy of the Sennheiser AC800 in this regard, and you really shouldn't because of the vastly different price ranges, apples and oranges and all that stuff. So despite having its V-shaped characteristic, it was actually the mid-range of the Talos that made it work for me. I could not help but directly compare it to the THX100, which has sucked out mids and sharp treble in my opinion. The Talos, however, has a manner of making the instrumentals of songs work well around its dip. While the soundstage is not understandably wide, the instrumentals of most genres fit as they should, so the jangling guitar work of a song like Spanish Bombs with a Clash sounds as it should, and well separated to boot. However, it is the vocals that take a backseat in the overall presentation of the mid-range, with an upper mid dip especially hitting female vocals, so keep that in mind. The female vocals, they sound a bit distant because of this dip. Male vocals are not hit nearly as hard, but it is still obvious to me that the instrumental will always be emphasized when using the Talos. It should be noted that you will not experience an especially detailed mid-range from the Talos as well, as it is a bit hazy because of the dips. That being said, the good aspects of the mid-range far outweigh the negative. A quick listen to Dreams by Fleetwood Mac confirms this. The vocal layering is not absolutely drowned out by the instrumental. but the harmonies come through quite well in a manner that can be complemented. I especially prefer this presentation over the Vibro Mark I for sure. The treble is very comfortably extended but not overly far-reaching. It does not feel too stuffy though, and it certainly is not very airy. I greatly appreciate the lack of peaks that I endured when I had a THX100, as the Talos has a way more linear approach to the treble. I also appreciate that it extends further than the Vibro Mark I, which will get too stuffy, especially on older tracks like Led Zeppelin. Although this could be because the Vibro Mark I uses the T50RP Mark II, whereas the Talos uses the Mark III. And I do hear that the 3 has more extended treble characteristics than the 2. This means that snare drums have a more impactful sound and cymbals are not completely drowned out in the mix when using the Talos. One significant weakness, however, that both headphones share is the slightly scratchy and unnatural nature of the T50RP treble in general. I had gotten used to it back in the day, but after spending so much time recently with dynamic headphones that do this quite a bit better, it really sticks out to me now when I'm listening to the Talos. I went hunting for sibilants in songs that made me grind my teeth on my HD800, despite it being super dipon mounted. One example is David Lee Roth's vocal on Van Halen's Hot for Teacher, which can really give me a headache on some headphones. While it did run hot at certain vowels and on a ride cymbal, the Talos did a great job of giving the song a thick low end with decently opened up highs in a manner that did not irk me. This is a non-fatiguing headphone, plain and simple. So to sum up, as an overall listen, I greatly prefer the Talos with energetic songs coupled with slick production. Its strengths are not very compatible with lo-fi recordings, despite it being a forgiving headphone listening experience in general. It's not a true-to-life and natural-sounding headphone that'll give you an especially live sound with a wide soundstage and stellar imaging and all that kind of thing, but it is a very pleasing and fun sound signature that works really well as an all-rounder among planar magnetics in its price range. And it is a very impressive first release by Cascadia Audio and Mad Economist, and I do recommend it if you are looking for an alternative to a headphone such as the HD600, which is a very neutral headphone, in this price range. So that was my review of the Cascadia Audio Talos, and thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe. I do have some cool stuff in the pipeline, and I am trying to revamp my format of the review videos. The comparison videos will stay the same because those are too long form to do this sort of thing with, in my opinion. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.